Hello and welcome to another Sprues and Brews video. Today we are looking at the final part of the Broken Realms series for Warhammer Age of Sigmar with Broken Realms Kragnos. So I've been a big fan of the other Broken Realms books. Really excellent story with a brilliant narrative that has essentially closed this edition of Age of Sigmar and began setting things up for the new third edition that's out very soon. And yet Kragnos is the final book in this series and tells of the return of Kragnos, the end of empires, a mighty beast from times long past that has been released back into the mortal realms. So yeah, been really looking forward to looking at this one. Massive thanks to Games Workshop for sending this book a little bit early for us to have a look at with you guys. So we're not going to go too deep into the lore on this video because I know a lot of people want to read this themselves and explore all that content themselves. So we're mostly going to focus on the kind of rule side, all that kind of stuff here without going too deep into the lore. If you do want to know what has happened in the book though, I have got a full write-up to accompany this, going into all the ins and outs and all the spoilers on there. That will be at the end of the post on the website as well if you do want to read our written review. Yeah, just to make sure that people don't get spoiled, that don't want to know what happens. So yeah, a quick flick through here. Again, really pretty book, lots of maps, lots of gorgeous new artwork as well that they've put throughout here. The Broken Realms books have been some of the best lore I've read so far for Age of Sigmar. I mean, second edition from Soul Wars on has been really excellent, and Broken Realms has finished that brilliantly. And yeah, the book doesn't disappoint. I think from a story point of view, I still think Morathi and Be'lakor are the best two out of the four books, but definitely a satisfying conclusion with lots of twists and cool revelations, and there's quite a lot of stuff in here that points towards stuff that we might see in the future as well, which is really cool. I like stuff like that, kind of setting up new armies that we might see and new factions that we might see in the new edition, and I hope they expand on that more in the third edition starter box and the new rulebook as well. Obviously it's not too long till we get our hands on this, so it's in a funny position, this book, because it is really the last release for the second edition of Age of Sigmar. Now I imagine a lot of the kind of the battle plans and the rules in here have been written with the third edition in mind, so I'm sure all the stuff in here will still be usable. We'll certainly be playing through all the kind of narrative storyline as well, because that looks really fun. But yeah, thoroughly recommend reading this series of books if you are into the narrative of Age of Sigmar. If you want to catch up on kind of the current situation going into the new edition, yeah, the four books are definitely worth picking up and having a read for that. So yeah, like I said, the majority of the book is kind of lore based, with this being kind of the narrative conclusion of the Soul Wars. And then yeah, we go into the kind of the colour section. We see all the gorgeous models that are getting released alongside this, and there are a lot of really cool models coming out alongside the book. So we've got Kragnos himself. I think he's £100. Big chunky model. I really want to paint up one of these. I've got a Mega Gargan army, and I've got some ogres that I think deservedly need to lead him. I imagine we'll probably see his full faction come the full reveal of the Dominion launch box as well, so really excited to see what it is. We've got all these little glyphs on the base, so I do wonder if that ties into it. We've seen a few bits of artwork and a few things that have suggested like hobgoblins or some kind of like goblinoid faction. Fimir have been mentioned a few times, so yeah, really excited to see what his faction really looks like. We get a couple of hints in the book, but nothing kind of spelling out what he actually is. So yeah, I like to see what we get and how he fits in with them, because his race is extinct, so it's not going to be centaurs. We then get a dual kit that builds the twins of Slaanesh, so Dixessa and Silnessa. These are the newborn offspring of Slaanesh that was released in Broken Realms Morathi, and again, really nice models. One with a kind of peacock look and one with like a butterfly look to them. they're really cool. We'll be having a look at their rules in a little bit, but really excited to seeing the actual kits for these and getting some paint on them. I think that'll be fun. We've got the Warsong Revenant, the new Sylvaneth unit. We've got the Witch Hunter father and daughter combo, the new Lord Croak model, and again he's got a new War Scroll as well that we'll see in a little bit. So yeah, without further ado, let's have a look at the actual rules themselves. So Broken Realms Kragnos follows pretty much the same pattern as the other Broken Realms books that we've got. You get a full narrative campaign that lets you fight through the battles and the various things that happen within the book. These are more narrative based games, so it doesn't give you a points value. Really, each of the missions gives you suggested forces and then a way of assembling your army using those unit choices that you've got, which is a really nice way of doing it. It doesn't... While these are kind of the kind of suggested factions, so you've got Sylvaneth, you've got Knights Excelsior, you've got Kragnos' Destruction Army. So if you've got a gaming group with a few different people, you could probably get a few people involved with this and all kind of throw in their armies and play through this whole campaign. We've said during these other videos that we really want to play through the entire campaign, and just recently the UK has opened up a little bit, so we are able to play games again. So this is one of the things on my to-do list, to start playing through the storyline before 3rd edition launches, which I don't think it's too far away. We're probably talking maybe a month max until the next edition's out, you know, if we're seeing the box on Saturday on Warhammer Community. So yeah, so to go through here, we get a few rules. There's not much in the way of new rules content for the battle side of things. We get the Coast of Tusks, which is the realm of battle that this takes place in. So it's in Ger, it's where Kragnos used to live, and it's where the city of Excelsis is, and we get some rules to use for that in our games. It does stress that this is for kind of open and narrative games. These rules aren't really designed for match play games, so just bear that in mind if you are thinking of using that in your battles. We also get the Streets of Death rules reprinted here. I think these have appeared in 1 or 2 of the other Broken Realms books, just because some of the battle plans take place within the confines of a city and the sieges and stuff. So yeah, those are reprinted here. Out of that, there's nothing really too new that isn't already in the other Broken Realms books. We then get the battle plans themselves, and there's a nice assortment of different missions, same as we've seen in the other Broken Realms books. They've mixed it up here with a few different scenarios and objectives and things like that, just give you a nice variety of games over the campaign. So this one, for example, there's Nor holes that the Stormcast player is trying to destroy to stop the Skaven from coming up. We've got a few different things. As you can see here, you see how it kind of suggests the armies that you take. So you're not super restricted. I mean, more so in this one where you've got the kind of Mega Gargant based on, but if you go to one of the other battle plans maybe, you've got a little bit more freedom in picking what you have, and then there's rules for selecting which units that you pick as well. So yeah, you know, you've got like 10 models of free guard to represent the Honour Guard. You've got specific units there. Some of the bigger ones you've got a bit more freedom. So here, for example, you've got 12 Scourge Privateer units, 2 Melusai units, 12 Stormcast Eternals, and then it gives you rules for selecting those units from your army. So while it doesn't have points, there is a fair bit of guidance to constructing your force to still make it a fun battle. I know a lot of people probably haven't played much in the way of narrative games, and I really hope that's something that they push in the next edition of the game, because stuff like this is really, really fun. And you know, if you're solely playing match play games, we've got 2,000 points aside, you are missing out on some fun different missions. So yeah, I would encourage everyone to give that a go. If you want to, you could probably take the basis of the mission and put some strict points levels on it, but I'd keep in the spirit of it and pick your units from the suggested lists. So that is the kind of narrative campaign within the book. As with the other Broken Realms books, however, we do get a lot of updates for some old battle tomes. And yeah, we get an awful lot represented in here. We've got Kragnos, we've got the Gloomspite Gits, the Sylvaneth, the Head Knights of Slaanesh, Cities of Sigmar, Seraphon, Skaven, and Beasts of Chaos. So quite a few factions represented here. So there's lots of stuff for a variety of different players, which is really cool. I like that they've had lots of stuff in here. And again, I guess lots of reason to pick up the book for multiple different armies. Some of these do have more content than others, as we'll see as we go through. But yeah, so first of all, we've got Kragnos, the title star. So we've not seen this guy in Age of Sigmar before. We learn about his back history in here, and presumably this is going to be a big part of the new Destruction army that's coming out in the 3rd edition of the game. He's quite tough, with a wounds characteristic of 18 and a 2+ save. He's going to be quite resilient. As he takes damage, if you haven't killed him, he kind of does an aura of mortal wounds to things nearby. As he gets more wounded, that bellow of rage goes up. So what you don't want to do is almost kill him, and then on a 2+, he's doing D6 mortal wounds to everything. Sorry, D3 mortal wounds to everything nearby. He also has a chance of destroying terrain pieces, and the things that were garrisoned in that terrain piece could take damage as well. So yeah, that's going to be a bit scary if he takes any damage. He's also got a really interesting rule. So like a lot of units, he does impact hits when he charges in. He can either roll 2+ for every unit within an inch, and they'll each take D6 mortal wounds, which is really good for a kind of charge mechanic. Or if you're charging a monster, you can gamble. So instead of doing that, you can instead roll 2d6. If you roll a 7, which obviously is the average of 2d6, nothing happens. Fine. If you roll anything that isn't a 7, you multiply the dice together. So if you roll a 2 and a 6, that would become 12. He will cause 12 mortal wounds to the monster that he's just charged. So, potentially, if you rolled double 6, you would do 36 mortal wounds to the target. Absolutely bananas. Most of the time it isn't going to do that on average. It's probably not going to do anything. On average, you're probably better off going with a 2+ D6 mortal wounds. But it's the tantalising chance of getting those 36 mortal wounds that I really like. I'd always gamble. And obviously that only works on monsters as well. If he's going against like normal units, it's just the normal impact hits. But, you know, this guy could take out Mega Gargants in one hit. He could take out Vorgorath, the big Forge World Dragon. So, yeah, there's potential for some antics here, which is really, really cool. He's also got a rule where he can re-roll charge rolls and hit rolls if he's within 12 inches of any enemy kind of dragon units. So it calls out Stardrakes, Dracoths and Draklines, but it also mentions Drakes, which isn't a keyword that we've currently got on any War Scroll. So there's a few possibilities here. There's things in the book that could suggest at some point we might see dragons return to the Mortal Realms maybe. That'd be cool. I also wonder if the Stormcast Eternals, in their new wave of stuff coming out alongside 3rd edition, will get some kind of Drake mount or unit. You know, they've got allegiances with Draconian, the big Star Drake. So, yeah, I'm interested to see what that's going to be. The guy's also really resistant to magic with his shield. It works a bit like the Chaos spell shield on a 4+, it just shrugs any spell. Instead, you roll 3d6, and if you beat the casting value, so not what's been rolled, just the casting value on the spell itself or the end of the spell, if you roll over it, it has no effect on Kragnos whatsoever. So that's really, really cool. It means that, you know, 2+ save, big wound thing. Traditionally, the way that you deal with it is a load of mortal wounds, a load of spells. So the fact that he can shrug those spells is really good. He's also pretty good stat-wise. His abilities don't really degrade other than his move and his number of attacks that he gets with his hooves. The Bellow of Rage, that improves as he takes damage, and none of his kind of damage characteristics degrade. So, you know, on his mace, he's always getting 6 attacks, always hitting on 3s, always wounding on 2s, -3 rend and 4 damage. So that's a load of damage. What's that? 24 damage just from that mace. Plus his other weapons, I think I worked out when I wrote the article, he can do 45 wounds with his weapons, plus up to 36 with his mortal wound ability. So, yeah, this guy can put out an awful lot of damage if he's lucky. Really like him. He's a little bit on the pricey side. I think off the top of my head he's 740 points. We'll look at that in a little bit. But yeah, it's a big, cool, impressive model. Unfortunately, due to him being so expensive, I don't think he fits so well into a Sons of Behemat army. You'd be able to take one Mega Gargant and then, I guess, 3 or 4 Man-Eaters maybe. I haven't worked it out properly yet, but you're not going to be able to take a couple of Mega Gargants and him just because he's so expensive. So yeah, I'm interested if his kind of faction that he's going to be part of is kind of like a horde army. That'll be interesting because then you could potentially have lots of bodies on the table while still having this big impressive monster. Currently, you can be taken in any destruction army, which is pretty fun. So lots of options for him to lead stuff. Again, if you want to go for a horde, take him with Gloomspite Gits. He'll probably work quite well with the ogres. He's got a passive increasing bravery aura, so those destruction armies are often susceptible to kind of battle shock and the like. And again, we don't know how that's going to change in 3rd edition. That might be more important. So yeah, I think he's pretty cool. I really like the model and I really want to paint one. We then get a few tweaks for the Gloomspite Git. So the Moon Shrine has changed a little bit. Now, rather than just being able to recycle your kind of grot units, based on the keyword of your general, you can recycle spiders or squigs or troggoths, which is pretty cool. And then alongside that, the 3 squig, spider and troggoth based sub-factions that we've seen in White Dwarf previously have been reprinted here. So again, that really rewards you for kind of doubling down and taking those sub-factions rather than a general mixed Gloomspite army. So that's really cool. If I was going to do goblins, I'd probably take a squig army, so that makes that easier. Onto the Sylvaneth, we get a couple of new war scrolls here. So Alarielle has been reworked quite a bit. Her spear has now got a fixed 24-inch range. That used to vary based on how many wounds she's got. I think it started at 36, so it has reduced a little bit. The damage used to be D6, that's now flat, but it does degrade as she takes more damage. So arguably, when she's on a kind of a top profiles, she is on average doing more damage with that. 6 damage flat's really good. A few other tweaks here or there. The antlers, it's easier to hit and wound than it used to be. As she gets degraded, she isn't as slow anymore, so the slowest she can be is 12 inches, where previously it was 6 inches. So yeah, she's had a bit of an improvement there. She has gone up in points. She's over 700 points now, so it is quite a big points increase, but she does have a couple of cool abilities that have been added to her. So she now heals 2d6 wounds in her hero phase, then everything else heals d3. So, it's another one where you're going to have to try and kill her in a turn, otherwise she's probably going to heal up majority of her wounds in her hero phase, and again that puts her on those better profiles for her weapon damage as well. A few little tweaks for the battering ram. So previously, I think that was just on a 4+ you took D3 mortal wounds. We're now on a 1, nothing happens. 2 to 5 you take D3 mortal wounds, and on a 6 you take D6 mortal wounds. She still summons in exactly the same way as she did previously. She's got a new ability that lets her retreat and still shoot and charge later in the turn as well. So that really helps her from getting tar pitted with some kind of chaff units. She can just drop back out of combat now, and there's no penalty, which is pretty fun. The Talon of Dwindling has changed a bit as well. So now you roll to hit and wound. You've got 4 attacks with it. You then roll a d6. On a 1 to 5, basically nothing happens. The wound is negated, but on a 6, the model is slain. So while that's, I guess, a net damage drop for her, because all of those attacks that don't roll a 6 are not going to do anything, you have got the chance of one-shotting things. Kragnos you could take out in one shot with that if you're lucky. You've got 4 attacks hitting on 3s. Let's say 3 of them hit. Wounding on 4s, if you're lucky, 2 of them wound. So you've got 2 1 in 6 chances of killing whatever you're fighting, so that's pretty good. Considering that she can heal herself up as well, she can go toe-to-toe with some of those big characters that you want to take out, so yeah, I think that's pretty fun. Magic-wise, she now knows every spell in the Sylvaneth Lore of the Deepwood, which is really good. We see that on a few things within this book, and I do wonder if that's something we'll see going into 3rd edition, people knowing their entire spell lore, because it gives you a bit more options and customizability when you're casting your spells, so that's pretty cool. Other than that, no massive changes there. Metamorphosis is a little bit better. It triggers on a 3+ instead of a 4+. So yeah, quite a few tweaks there, nothing massive. But yeah, some interesting changes, and I think she'll be pretty good. Alongside it, we've got the new Warsong Revenant. So this is a new kind of support character. It's 240 points, something around that. And again, pretty good. It knows all the spells in the same lore. It can only cast 2. It's got a nice kind of aura one, where based on the casting roll, she'll do a number of hits to nearby units. She's got a built-in +1 to casting if she's near a wildwood. It also has a 4+ wound or mortal wound shrug, making it, pretty resilient for a 7-wound character. And then there's also a passive bravery aura, increasing the bravery of friendly Sylvaneth units and decreasing the bravery of any enemy units. So yeah, she's pretty good. We then get some revised Wildwood rules. So there used to be a ability here where if you cast a spell near it, it could do some damage to you. That is now removed. Instead, you're just more likely to get hit by the Vengeful Forest Spirit. So basically at the end of the charge phase, you roll for any models nearby and there's a chance they get attacked by the wood. If you're a wizard or there's an endless spell nearby, that goes up to a 4+, which is pretty good. I think previously you could put kind of 3 to 9 trees down as your wildwood. It's now 1 to 3, so that does shrink down the footprint. It's essentially just one of those old tree bases, where before you could put down 3 of those and it'd be quite a footprint. Obviously, with there being more scenery in the game, it just means that you've got less wood, but it's going to be easier to place them. So that's pretty cool. They've also tweaked the overgrown wilderness rules. Sylvaneth can now see through their own woods, and models with 10 or more wounds can see through it as well because they're tall enough. So similar to the rules in 40k for seeing across scenery. And I do wonder if that again is something we'll see tweaked in the new edition. We then get right to Spikegrove. I'm not going to go too much into the War Scroll battalions. Obviously, there's rumours at the minute that battalions in general won't be in kind of match play games. They'll just be core ones in the main rulebook. Obviously, we'll know more about that when Warcom starts sharing some info about the new edition. But that is the rumour at the minute. This is pretty cool. It increases the rend of the Cruel Talons and Fangs to -1. So yeah, not bad. We then get to the Twins of Slaanesh. So this is the newborn that we saw birthed in Broken Realms Morathi. And yeah, bouncing baby twins Slaanesh has given birth to. One is a fighty character, one is a magical character. They're both around 200 and something points. I think it's just over 500 points if you want to take the 2 of them. And yeah, I really like them. So 10 wounds, they're kind of, if we expected them to be kind of greater demon kind of level characters, I think they hold a bit of a different role. They're very quick, they're quite stabby in a fight as well, with a lot of attacks, decent profile for combat. Dexessa, each battle round after the first time she gets in combat, all of her attack characteristics increase by 1. So by the end of the game, she could have, 12 attacks, 16 attacks, is it? Lots of attacks. If you can get her into combat turn 1, which is pretty cool. It's also got a passive -1 to hit ability on it as well, so makes it a little bit more resilient. It hasn't got like a wound shrug or anything, so making it harder to hit is a really nice ability. It also has a 12-inch kind of no battle shock aura for Slaanesh demons, which is pretty cool. And it can issue its first command to a friendly Slaanesh demon unit each turn without spending a command point, which is pretty good. And that's each player turn. So if you do want to use, an auto pass battle shock, for example, she can do that for free, which is really cool. It can also run or retreat and still charge later in the same turn, making it quite agile and manoeuvrable. So yeah, really like Dexessa. Dexessa's sibling is Sinessa, and this is the kind of like magic variant of it. So slightly less wounds, slightly less of a combat-y profile, though it does have a cool ranged ability. You pick a unit within 18 inches and you roll a dice. On a 6, nothing happens. If you roll under their save characteristic, that unit takes D6 mortal wounds, and if you roll equal or over their save characteristic, it takes D3 mortal wounds. So because there's no roll to hit, I think this is a good one for maybe sniping out support characters or taking out, high save, high wound elite cavalry unit, so Gorgrunt or something like that. You could potentially take one out and force a battle shock, so that's pretty fun. The Voice of Slaanesh also can use command abilities even if units are out of range, as long as it can see them, so that's really cool. We've all been in the situation where a unit is just out of range for your auto pass battle shock command ability, and yet unfortunately you've got to roll and you lose them. Sinessa doesn't care. As long as she can see the unit, she can issue it a command ability. Equally, two of its spells, so Whispers of Doubt, the spell in its War Scroll, and Pavane of Slaanesh out of the Head Knights of Slaanesh book, it can target a hero it can see regardless of the range. So that Pavane of Slaanesh is really cool. So essentially you roll a dice for each point of movement it's got. So against fast cavalry and stuff, you could do a load of damage with that. And crucially, I think in the Slaanesh book it's got a range of 6. She can just sit back and point at a unit and take it out with that, so that's really cool. It can only cast one spell per turn, but it knows all of the spells out of all the laws in the Slaanesh book, plus its own Whispers of Doubt spell, which basically you have to roll over their bravery on 3d6, and if you do, you get +1 to hit that target. So yeah, Sinessa is pretty cool. I like both of those characters. But then get the Exquisite Pursuit. That is another War Scroll battalion. Again, not going to go too much into these, but yeah, they're fun for flavour and the boxes are pretty nice. Next up, we've got some Cities of Sigmar content. So we get a new free city, Excelsis, which is the city that is in the narrative. And the kind of gimmick in this one, I guess, is that there's a kind of tower of Sigmarites that they're mining as it gives people a gift of prophecy. So you can basically gamble on a unit, and on a 2+, they get +1 to hit rolls, but on a 1 they get -1 to hit rolls as they're being distracted by the prophecy. So that's pretty cool. We get some cool abilities, such as the ability to redeploy D3 units at the start of the game. We also get like a mini Kairos ability, where you can change once per game, change a dice roll. I think it's hit, wound, save, charge, run, to any result that you want. So that's pretty cool. And then we get some spells that are all very themed around the kind of Amber lore from Warhammer Fantasy, with some old favourites such as the Amber Spear. We also get a couple of new characters for the Cities of Sigmar, so the Van Denst family, Duralia and Galen. These are a daddy-daughter team of witch hunters. They're really cool. They essentially double their damage when they're fighting wizards or demons, and they've got a range of different abilities that they kind of share. They are separate units. You don't have to buy them as a pair like with some of the Underworlds gangs. You can just buy one of them if you want to. Duralia is good with a crossbow. If she stands still, she gets an extra shot. Both of them get a 5+ wound shrug, where Galen is more kind of a close combat based one. He gets a load of attacks. Yeah, I quite like these. I'd probably go for Duralia as kind of a ranged character sniper, where she stays still 2 shots doing 4 damage against wizards or demons. She's pretty good at taking out enemy support casters and stuff, so yeah, she's pretty cool. Both of them can also shoot or attack an endless spell. They roll 2d6, and if they roll over the casting value of that endless spell, it's essentially unbound, which is cool. With Lord Croak getting a gorgeous new model, we also get a new profile for him. So you'll notice that he's gone up to 18 wounds, but that is a little deceiving really, because he's got an interesting mechanic. Each phase, when he takes any damage, you roll 3d6 and add the number of wounds that he has suffered. If the total is over 20, he is slain. If it's less than 20, he heals back up to full health again. So the average for rolling 3d6, I think, is 12. I want to say 11 or 12. So on average, you want to cause 8 wounds to him, and on average, you'll roll the 12 to equal the 20 and he'll be taken out. However, obviously there's spikes in that. You could be really unlucky. He suffers 2 wounds in a phase and you roll 3 6s on your dice roll, meaning that he's dead. So yeah, a bit of a strange one. He has got the potential to hang around for a long time, especially if you put some Saurus Guard near him to take the wounds. Yeah, I think it's quite an interesting one. You could be really lucky or really unlucky. On average, I think it's 8 wounds that you need to really do to him to threaten him. Obviously, that's in a single phase as well, so you are going to have to focus some fire to take him down. Other than that, he's had a few tweaks here or there. He now gets +2 to casting. His gift from the heavens is improved. He can now do it on D3 units as well. So yeah, Lord Kroak's pretty cool. The Skaven also get some new battle traits and allegiance abilities added on top of their current ones. So you can now put your weapon teams hidden within units of Clan Rats or Storm Vermin, meaning that they're pretty safe as they're moving up the battlefield, and then either at the start of the shooting phase or at the end of the charge phase, your weapons teams can jump out. So that's pretty cool, I like that. There's also some clan mould and mutations. You can choose to pick a fighting beast and give it some of these upgrades. So your Hellpit Abominations have 6 different abilities they can have, or instead you could give your Rat Ogres an upgrade as well. I really like the one down here. They get a move characteristic of 8 and they heal D3 wounds each turn as well, making your Rat Ogres faster and a bit more survivable. So yeah, a few little fun bits to be added to the Skaven. And finally, even the Beasts of Chaos get a few new additions. So again, similar to the Skaven, we get some battle traits redone, just giving them a few more abilities. So Gors can now reroll charge rolls. Warherd now do impact hits. And the Raging Storm ability for your Thunderscorn units that used to be on a War Squad battalion is now kind of baked into an army ability. So that's really cool, giving those Beasts of Chaos a few little perks that they didn't have before. They also get a few revised War Squads. There's no massive changes here. So Call of Battle, he can run in charge, and he does exploding hits on 6s. Jabberslide has changed a little bit. His Aura of Madness now gives enemy units an extra attack, but if they roll a 1 to hit, they take a mortal wound for each one that they roll. So a bit of a dangerous one, because you're giving your opponent extra attacks, but if they roll abysmally, that could end up killing them. So yeah, quite an interesting one. And finally, we've got the points for the new units. So yeah, both of the Van Denst guys are 115 points, and not bad. Unique leaders for Cities of Sigmar. Kragnos 760 points, so he is quite pricey. The twins, you've got one at 280 and one at 260. So again, pricey side, looking 500 and something points for the pair of them. I really like both those units, so I think they're pretty cool. Lord Kroak's 430. Alarielle's a massive 740. Arguably, she has had quite a few buffs to her though. And the Warsong Revenant's 275. So again, on the pricey side, but a decent caster and some decent utility there. So that's our look at Broken Realms Kragnos. It is up for pre-order today and is released next weekend. Massive thanks to Games Workshop for sending this to have a look at. If you want to see our full written review where we go into the lore and kind of go into a bit more detail, head over to spruesandbrews.com. That is up at the same time as this video. And then yeah, very soon hopefully we'll be able to start playing some games and sharing those on here. If you haven't seen them before as well, every weekend we do a painting stream as well, so make sure to check those out. They are live on Sundays from 7 PM UK time, also available over on Twitch as well. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this look at the new book. Really looking forward to seeing what we get for the 3rd edition of Age of Sigmar. So yeah, hope to see you all soon. Thanks for watching.